Same with the sunglasses right there. One minute is that. Okay. Good afternoon again, everybody, and welcome to the final half of the match in a really exciting and enthralling game between the Houston Stallions and the Crick-based Gladiators. First innings, Houston Stallions were absolutely dominant. Awais Zia, 66 from 28 with 4 4s and 5 6s. Cheyenne Jahangir, 50, and even 50 from 36 with 3 4s and 2 6s. And an explosive innings toward the end. Hamad Azam, 56, not out from 23 balls, 1 4 and 6 huge 6s, one of which landed in the dog park, ooh, I would say 130 yards away from the wicket. So, needless to say, the hill is very, very high for the Crick-based Gladiators to climb. They need to haul down a score of 227, target 228. So obviously they need to be going at a rate of over 11 and over. And they only have to do it against a really strong bowling lineup. And to tell you how strong this bowling lineup is, Najaf Shah, who played international cricket for Pakistan, is not even the opening bowler. So a lot of things to consider here. And I have a couple of commentators here who are itching to get in on the action. So, first of all, Moise, tell me a little bit about what you've seen in the first inning so far. What do you expect for this half of the innings?
Well, the Stallions this day have been absolutely dominant in control of both games. They're the only team to score over 200 runs, and they've done it twice in both games that they've played so far. First innings, they looked really good. They were puncturing holes in the Gladiators' defense or fielding, and there were just a lot of boundaries hit. And yeah, I expect their fielding to be good. If they've dismissed the last game, they dismissed the Power Stars quite early and kept them at a solid 130 runs. So I got high expectations. I think the Stallions will take this one and go undefeated this first day of the HPL. But cricket is anyone's game, and the Gladiators do have a strong lineup with Milind Kumar leading that. But we're gonna see soon.
Roshni, your thoughts?
So, I mean, I do have similar thoughts. I think the Stallions have been, absolute brilliance. They knew that they were bringing in a strong side, and they definitely shown it by the two matches we've witnessed by them. I think all of the players, that have batted, especially in that Stallions lineup, that we saw in this match, you can just see, how many talented players they have. Each of them have gone off and, done what they need to for the team. We saw Hamad, put a dent in that we mentioned earlier, and he went off. He was the man of the match in the previous match. In this match, he did a lot of damage as well with runs. And I think for the Gladiators, it's definitely going to be a tough fight. I think, we'll see how these two do. We know Millen did perform very well in the first game, so this did get out early. So I think it's going to be really up to these two to set up a good, opening partnership, get in those runs. And then after that, the Gladiators are really going to be dependent on their other batsmen because in the first game, none of them scored more than 10 runs. So it was only Milind Kumar and Prajit who, took the game to that close match when they only won by 5 runs. So, when we're looking at 228 as a target, they have a tough job ahead of themselves.
Completely agree with you. So the openers who are being asked to get the team off to a flyer, hopefully, are Milind Kumar and Prajit Moody. And they'll be facing Mohammad Irshad, right arm, quick from the north end. He'll be bowling over the wickets, bowling to Milind Kumar. Here we go. First ball is down the leg side, and what you do not want to do if you're the bowling side and defending a very large total is give them any extra balls. You want all of the runs that they score to come off of legal deliveries. So, first run on the board in the inning so far, and no official balls having been delivered yet.
That's something we didn't expect. But last game, if we look back, The Gladiators had a few early dismissals. They lost. They were 13-3 at one point until Milind Kumar took charge, and that's another delivery bowled by Irshad.
And it's
Goes for a dot.
also wide down the this time down the offside, a little too wide of off stump for the liking of the umpires. So still 120 balls to be bowled and 2 runs on the board. And if we had a win predictor from here, a win predictor I think would be comfortably in the direction of the Houston Stallions. But the extras they will not want to have happen. First legal delivery is glanced down or guided down to sort of backward point, no run. And so the first legal delivery on the way, 3 deliveries total been bowled, score is 2 without loss.
And we can see that it's not as hot anymore, and players will be able to run more, and I expect more out of the fielding since the sun is down. But the Gladiators had to suffer through 95-degree weather when they were fielding.
So umpire considered that one for a long time. You could see his thoughts turning over in his head, but ultimately he decided that ball might have been just inside the line. So another legal delivery goes by, another dot ball. What you want to do at this point as a bowling side, if you're the Houston Stallions, is just to keep the ball on the wicket or keep him from bowling extras. And anything that you do in terms of giving up runs, make sure they earn the runs that they score instead of giving them anything. This ball is punched into the covers. Easy single taken. So 3 balls bowled and the score is 3 without loss.
Oh, you watching it on your phone?
Temperature, according to my watch here, is about 90 degrees, but it feels much, much cooler than it did a couple of hours ago. Overcast conditions at this point and a little bit of a wind blowing from the east. So much, much more comfortable than 95 degrees and sunny like it was the other in a couple of hours ago. And so the fielding side will definitely love these conditions. The additional cloud cover along with the humidity here in Houston will probably help the new ball to swing just a little bit. And the overall cooler conditions they will love. This one is cut away behind point. 1 run score. They're coming back for a second. They'll get there easily. In fact, a little bit less easily than I thought they would have initially. But they do get there for 2. Good cut shot. Just past that man diving at backward point. Was not able to get his hand on it. But the fielding position, not very common that you see a sweeper on the offside during the power play overs. But that's exactly where he was positioned, and he did well to retrieve that ball and prevent it from going for 4. So 2 balls remaining in the over, 5 without loss in the score. The batsmen are Milind Kumar and Prajit Moody. A little bit of repair work here where the stumps at the strikers end up being rearranged. Two balls remaining by my count. Here's Mohammad Irshad. Big drive and a miss outside off stump. 1 ball remaining signals the umpire to his partner. So a little bit of a rocky start to this over, the first over of the match. But Mohammad Irshad seems to have pulled things back in the way that he'd like to. So, with 1 ball remaining, the score is 5 without loss in the first over.
I mean, to do Irshad justice, it's still a good over in terms of like overall scope. They need to chase 223, and yeah, another dot. Yeah, so a 5-run over is pretty good for that in that sense.
In the context of T20 cricket, a 5-run over makes you one of the best bowlers on the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in the context where you're chasing 228 and you're needing to go at 11 runs and over, a 5 run over is like a precious diamond. So they are now requiring 113 runs, 223 runs from 113 balls. There's more than 100 runs needed per balls available. So no question that in theory any over that yields less than 10 runs is a good over and gets you closer to victory if you're a fan of the Stallions. But certainly if there's an over where only 5 runs are conceded, even with the wides that were bowled, it doesn't matter. You're definitely turning the screws if you're in that position to be able to be that miserly with the ball. And speaking of miserly with the ball, here we have coming from the south end the great Najaf Shah. Najaf played several matches for Pakistan. Left arm fast bowler. Here he is. Oh, short, quick, bouncy, pasted delivery. Najaf Shah, very attempted uppercut there by the batsman. Did not pull it off in the end, and after all of that, is just a single dot ball. Najaf Shah, very tall, probably at 6'3", 6'4", and hits the deck very hard as you would expect for somebody with his caliber, and really, really difficult to score off of. High in the air, that ball actually flies down to third man and goes for 4. Certainly not where he intended to play that shot. Top edge that flew. In fact, he was trying to play it over mid wickets. Thick outside slash top edge, and it goes all the way down to third man for 4. So fortuitous. If you're the crick-based Gladiators, you will take these runs any way they come. Maybe a moral victory there for Najaf Shah as he got the batsman to play a false stroke, but 4 runs to the total. 9 runs now without loss. Third man now in response goes a little bit finer. Quick delivery, on off stump, pushed into the covers, quick throw at the non-striker's end. They scrambled through for that single. Score is now 10 without loss. And bearing in mind you are chasing the imposing total of 228. So 218 more runs needed. Only 111 balls left in which to get them. Needless to say, that's an equation that is not favoring the crick-based Gladiators at this point. Quick delivery down the leg side this time, though. And ducking away from that ball is the batsman, and the umpire signals wide. Najaf Shah, one of those bowlers who will, at his height, will get the ball to you either at chest height or it will be a Yorker at your toes. So you really have to be very careful.
I think the Stallions bowlers are doing an exceptional job right now because this is power play, and we have to remember an ideal power play, especially for the Gladiators, would be at least 60 runs, and if the Stallions can keep the economies low, then that would put a lot of pressure, and with pressure comes wickets. In an ideal world, they would aim to get Milland out because Milland has shown to be the best batsman on the Gladiators. And in the previous finals of the HPL, he did smash a century in the finals and led them to win that. But you take out Milland out of the equation, and the Gladiators are in a lot of trouble.
And this delivery here from Najaf Shah, the previous ball was dug in short and at that just awkward rib height, fended off eventually by Milland, and they run through for a single. And another really difficult delivery here by Najaf Shah. He really is difficult to score off of in these conditions. 1 ball remaining in the second over. And to your point, Moise, we're looking at 13 runs on the board with one ball remaining in the second over. So you're somewhere around 7 runs and over. But if you are the cricket-based Gladiators and you need 11 or 12 and over, your equation gets more and more difficult with each dot ball.
But then again, I think they're just trying to see how the match goes. I think the Gladiators are dipping their feet. I'm sure they're gonna start smashing runs eventually, but I think for the first few overs they're gonna chill and try building a partnership.
Okay, so two things. First of all, that was a no ball by Najjar Shah. It was a dot ball that would have ended the over, but unfortunately he overstepped, and the next delivery coming up will be a free hit. Secondly, in response to your comment just now, I don't know that they have a lot of time to settle down and see what happens. Because when you're chasing 100 more runs than you have balls available, you sort of have only one option. That one option is to attack from ball one. But it's really
Oh wow.
difficult to attack when you have bowlers of the caliber that the Houston Stallions have.
I mean, yeah, that's correct. I think they just want to see how the bowlers bowl, and then they're gonna play from there. If they're too hesitant, then yeah, they're not gonna be able to chase that 228. But you know, they can do it. They need 214 from 109 balls. That's a lot.
I would say that there's definitely a lot of pressure on both of these batsmen. They both know what role they play for the team. So I think, that's why they're having a slow start because they know how important their wicket is. Just based off of the first game, they definitely have other batsmen. They have Gaurav Bajaj. They have definitely players who can, build up an innings. But I think these guys really do need to get going and start scoring the runs because it's a high total that, they are chasing.
Now you have a little bit of a difficulty here though because that was a free hit delivery, that previous ball, and it was sprayed down the leg side for 5 wides. So 5 to the total plus another free hit. So they're being gifted some free runs here.
Yes.
Full toss on the other free hit delivery, and it's fielded. Not much harm done. A single to end the over. And at the end of 2, the score by my count, and we will confirm this shortly, is 20 without loss. 20 without loss.
In the next over, they need to build upon those gifted runs that they got and, really get going. That runs obviously is going to help them get going, but that's something that they really need to start. I understand, both their wickets are really important, but considering the total that they're chasing of 228 to win, it's really time for these two to get going just like they were in the first match.
Completely agree with you. 228 is an imposing total to chase against this bowling attack in a 30-over match. In a 20-over match, it's almost next to impossible. But
right now,
the one way that they will get there is if they keep getting gifted free runs. So if you're the Houston Stallions, you want to clean that up a little bit. As good an attack as you have, you should not be spraying the ball down the leg side or bowling no balls. You want to just make sure to get the ball in the right areas. These bowlers are good enough that if they get the ball in the right areas, they'll restrict the runs and they'll score wickets. What do you think, boys?
yeah, I think right now the thing that's in the most damage were the wides and the no balls. But it'll all be forgiven if there's a wicket, because that'll make up for it. And that goes for 4 right now.
A lofted shot over the infield, over the cover area. That goes for 4. So if you leave the door open and you gift a few runs and then all of a sudden a few runs flow off the bats, that's where the energy and the momentum starts coming from. So is this game over? No. If I'm betting on a team to win, I would think that it is still the Stallions' game to lose. But the way to pull this game closer is to score runs when you have the opportunity and to continue being gifted free runs by the opposition.
4 runs.
Yeah, if there's any team that could chase such a score, it's probably the Gladiators. They did win last game by chasing a score, but it wasn't as high as this one. But it is possible for them, and that's some good fielding right there.
So ball is pushed into the offside while you all are continuing to make plans for tomorrow and what forms of entertainment you will have. I'll be here commentating on the game if you don't mind. 25 without loss after 2 overs and 3 balls. I'll tell you what. Oh, this ball is wrapping the batsman on the pad. Not much of an appeal.
Not
No,
out.
or leg by signal by the umpire. So they run through for that single. More than anything else, you're going to be able to see, I think, once the bowlers settle down and start bowling the right lines and lengths that you expect them to bowl, that this is having a chuckle here at some of the graphics being created by the wizard of the board, Mr. Munir Majid. But some exciting things taking place here, and I think the more we go through these competitions and the more that we add different elements, it makes these broadcasts more and more entertaining, and hopefully you all at home will enjoy that. This ball helped over the infield, not really timed very well, but they'll still get 2 runs for it. Throw comes in from the boundary.
I think it's your aura, Brian.
I only wish I could take credit for everything you try to give me credit for.
It's your circle of influence, and that's just the left armpit. What if I move to the right side?
So the end of the over, according to our scorecard, it is 28 without loss. That will be confirmed very shortly. But 3 overs in the books. Najaf Shah will be coming on to bowl his second over, the 4th over of the innings. Here's Najaf. Lofted in the air. It's
Almost a
gonna clear
leading
the
edge.
infield. It's going to, in fact, run away for 4. He got more bat on that than I thought he did. So that boundary will not hurt matters at all. 4 runs to start the over.
The Gladiators are picking up the pace right now. They've gotten straight to scoring runs and chasing that target.
So,
But
Brian,
with
compared
the
to the first
Stallions-
game this morning, because of the overnight dew and the rain we had, do you think the outfield is much faster at this time?
The outfield is definitely a lot quicker than it was this morning. Very quick delivery, but it's sprayed down the leg side. I'll tell you what, that ball could have gone for 5 wides. In fact, it is off the body of the batsman. So they run through for a leg by. Yes, I completely agree with you, Munir. The outfield is much faster now after it's being baked in the heat for the last several hours than it was this morning with a bit of dew around and the outfield also being wet. So you would think that that favors the team batting second because the longer we stay out here, the faster the outfield gets. Quick delivery, wrapped on the pad, but from that left arm over the wicket with the height that ball is being delivered
Not out.
from, I think no question it would have not only missed the stumps, but is also probably pitching outside the line of leg stumps. So no LBW given in that occasion. Score by our records is 35 without loss. Of course, we stand to be corrected on that as we get caught up with the scorecard. Najaf Shah back to the top of his mark and coming in again, left arm over the wicket. Short, and it's guided down to third man, elegantly so, but protection is out there in the deep for the Houston Stallions. 1 run more to the total. If you are the cricket-based Gladiators, you don't want to give up, obviously, and you want to make sure that you don't concede any dot balls. You want to make sure that you're keeping the score ticking. If you get a bad ball, you put it away. If you get a gift from the bowling side, you accept it gracefully or gleefully. and you do what you can to bring this game all the way into the 20th over if possible. Another quick delivery, defended short, and a direct hit would have had him in trouble, I think. Throw came into the non-strikers, and a diving attempt there, or diving effort by the batsman to get back inside the crease. If that hit had come in directly and hit the stumps from that cover region, I think he may have been in trouble. But as it is, I think he's definitely home. And a little bit of excitement behind us as things are happening in all of the grounds here, and we have to keep our heads on a swivel. But here we are again, Najaf Shah, short and punched to mid wicket, no run. And I believe that's the end of the over. Yep, end of the over. At the end of the over, my score is 36 without loss. We'll wait for the official score shortly. But go ahead. What do you think, Munir?
We're showing 37, and Najaf Shah has completed his second over, conceded 23 runs. One thing I was noticing was this pair, both of them have played professional cricket in India. Prajit has been in the US for quite a few years, but Milind has been in and out. But what I'm really liking about that the batting collectively is that professional approach to look for boundaries, but they're rotating the strike at every available opportunity. Because they've played some good shots, I see that the fielders in the 30-yard circle have dropped to the edge of the circle. So if there's a good ball, they're just defending and rotating the strike, which is really good from both of them.
That's a great observation. There's several ways to score 11 runs and over. You can block 3 balls and hit 3 for 4, or you can hit 1s and 2s and push and put the pressure on the fielding side and scramble through for 11 runs. And one of those ways has an element of risk to it. The other way keeps you in the game and keeps the fielding side on their toes. So you certainly want to make sure to take advantage of any bad balls that you get to put them away, because if you get a bad ball in this form of cricket, it has to disappear. But you can still rotate the strike, as you said, Munir. Score off of the good balls. Make sure that if the fielders are back on their heels, you drop the ball in front of them and scramble for singles. And I think you're exactly right when you speak to the professionalism of these two players and how they're looking to manufacture those runs any way they can get them.
And speaking of professionalism, I want to thank the team that's in this commentary box with us right now, starting with Brian and Roshni, the two primetime signings for this year's HPL. We've got a youngster, 16-year-old Moiz Uddin, who's flown in from Baltimore on a summer vacation, and we roped him in to come into the commentary box. And then we've got the wonderful legend, as he's known across the cricketing circles, Shahiq, who's doing some wonderful camera work. And the shots which are following the ball, that's courtesy of Shahiq. So a huge thank you to all of you wonderful folks for your efforts today, making all this finally click. I've always said that Houston Premier League is a classic example of Murphy's Rule. Whatever could go wrong always goes wrong. So we ran into several logistical challenges this morning. And yeah, that was a lob throw. I think there was a good. He should have had a shy on the stumps, in my opinion. They're defending a big score, and the biggest threats to that chase is guys like Milind and Prajit. If you get an opportunity, you have to throw the kitchen sink at it.
Completely agree with you. So, first of all, thank you for the compliment. We're just doing it because we love the sport and we love being able to assist in any way possible.
I thought we had a good vibe going on.
I did it for you, by the way.
Ball in the air, and he's going to be caught at mid-off. Oh. So after surviving what could have been an attempted run out the previous delivery, he mistimes the ball, skies it, a really simple catch to that fielder at mid-off, and he gleefully accepts the chance. The first wicket goes down, 43 for 1 the score.
And again, beautiful shots courtesy of Shahiq. We very rarely have such high-level, zoomed-in shots on local broadcasts. And that's something we've tried over the years, just to upscale our game every single time.
And that was Milind Kumar who just got out. And that was, like I said, in an ideal world, that's the one that you want to get out. because if Millen builds a partnership, he will chase down any score. Last game he scored around 86, and they did chase their target. They got him out. Gladiators are in a lot of trouble right now. Also, they had around like 10 extras. You remove those. They've hit 35 runs in around like almost 5 overs. So they're not there yet. If you took out the runs, they'd be in even more trouble. But they are in a lot of deep water right now with the absence of Milind Kumar for the rest of the innings. And I think now we're gonna see a lot of that momentum that was being built. It's all been taken away, and Gladiators will have to start off fresh again.
Completely agree with you. And Roshni, where you would have thought the majority of the runs, if they were going to chase down the target, would have come from that opening pair. Now that that opening pair has been broken, where are the runs going to come from?
I mean, I do think they do have, some batsmen. It's just that in the first game, none of them really clicked. So hopefully they do click in this game. Obviously with cricket, you really never know, what game, what situation, a batsman's going to come out in. So we're going to hope, with the Gladiators, this incoming batsman, helps Bridget and kind of gets the run going and kind of takes up that role that Millen played in the first game. So I think, the Gladiators definitely brought in a strong side, and I think it's now time for the other players to step up in that role and put in be in the place of the shoes that Millen was filling in. I think that's the whole point of cricket. We can't always have one player always scoring all the runs for a team, so it's time for someone else to step up. And this incoming batsman, Gaurav Bajaj, the past couple of years, he's also become, one of the core DC players, one of the stars in DC. So he's also been a player who travels a lot, plays in a lot of tournaments, and he is definitely a nice, flashy batsman. We didn't really see much from him in the first match that we saw. So hopefully in this game, we get a good knock from him. The Gladiators really need it. And I think he really needs to prove himself as well about, the stature he has.
And I think Roshni, you would know he's played. We'll come back to it after this ball. Well defended. And like I was saying earlier, these guys, Gladiators, fit young team, bunch of professionals. They're willing to not just hit the big shots, but also rotate the strike. So coming back to Gaurav Roshni, he's played a lot of his cricket in Houston as well. He used to play for one of the most prominent cricket clubs, Triggers, for their team Spartans. And we've seen some wonderful performances from him. Good all-round player, total T20 package, real value-added player for the Gladiators.
Yeah, I have heard Houston is almost his second home when it comes to cricket. So he does play here often. So, I think he's used to these conditions, and I'm sure he's played here many of times. So I think he really needs to use that experience and kind of, help Bridget out and then try to build up an innings.
So 5 overs up. Najaf Shah will be bowling his third over, the sixth over of the innings. Last over the power play. Of course, in the power play, 2 fielders allowed outside the circle. Those 2 fielders, one is at third man rather, and the other is at deep backward square leg. Short delivery, and it goes through, just misses the outside edge. Collected by Shayan Jahangir. Najaf, I would think, given the pressure that he has built, even though he's given away a few runs with extras, you would think he'd want to continue turning the screws and just bowl his full quarter of overs here. Because if he's able to bowl 4 overs for, let's say, 20 runs, that just takes so much off the plate. Oh, good take down the leg side. That is off the body of the batsman, I believe. But excellently kept by Shayan Jahangir. I think he prevented about 4 runs there because that ball definitely would have, with that pace, would have gone away for the boundary, even though it would have slowed down a little bit coming off of the body of the batsman. The outfield is quick enough that would have gone. So ultimately a dot ball, good piece of keeping.
Starting off the over with 2 dot balls is exactly where you want to be if you're Shah. And that's a bouncer right there. And
Oh, in the air, agonizingly for a very long time. Mohamed Irshad running in from short fine leg could not get there. That was a vicious delivery. Short. In fact, had he not gotten bat on that, I think it could have been a judge or wide. But the ball lobbed up in the air, sort of at a backward square leg position. Mohamed Irshad running in from short fine leg could not get there in time, but they concede one run. So three deliveries, one run. That keeps turning the screws and applying the pressure, which, as the bowling side of the Stallions, is exactly what you want to have happen. This one clipped down to square leg. They run one, mid wicket rather. They run one and they'll get two easily. So 3 runs coming from the over so far. Munir, this equation is getting harder and harder for the crick-based Gladiators.
It sure is, Brian. And there was a lot hinging on Milan Kumar, especially because Gladiators have got 3 overseas players. They're only using 3 of those slots out of 4. So, well defended there by Prajeet. So, Milan's role has magnified quite a bit. And he's that kind of a player who can anchor a complete innings. And even if the required rate is 10 to 12, he can turn on the engine and really go big towards the end. So now I think the onus really comes on these two. They've got Sadesh in the hut who can accelerate, but they need one of these top 3 players to go big when you're chasing a total of 200 plus.
Completely agree with you.
And Brian, how beautiful of a sight it is to see someone like Najaf running in after all these years. I think he's been at the top level playing professional cricket for almost 20 years.
Yep.
And for a fast bowler who's that tall, who runs in to maintain that level of fitness, it's a beautiful sight.
That is so important. I hate to use myself as an example because I'm nowhere near the cricketer that he was. But just as somebody who had a similar length run up and came in hitting the deck hard, that takes so much of a toll on your knees. Oh, this is slapped down to the boundary. That might get all the way to the boundary. At long on, it's pulled back 2 feet inside the boundary. They run for 2. And so that's the end of the over. But to the point I was just making, again, no way am I comparing myself as a bowler to a man the caliber of Najaf Shah. But as a fast bowler, you run in, you're pounding in the amount of torque, the amount of shock that you plant when your knees hit your front foot hits the deck. All of that sends shock waves through your body. And over years and years and years of doing that, it takes a tremendous toll. And so to see Najaf, who, as you mentioned, has been playing now professionally for a couple of decades, to see him still being able to do this is truly a testament to how well he's taking care of himself and his own body.
But besides the skill, Brian, in terms of the popularity, you would give him a decent run for his money, right? The fandom that comes with Brian Walters, the enigma that is you.
I will say I'm at least very popular in my own family. How's that?
I'm a huge fan of Brian Walters, and I've only known him for less than a day.
Roshni, your thoughts on our lovely buddy, the mascot of Houston Premier League, the sexiest voice in U.S. cricket today?
Yeah, every time I hear Brian Walters' voice, I feel inspired.
I do think, you know what, in America, I feel like when it comes to commentary, it's really hard to develop like a good commentary voice. I think, you know, with that American accent, it just doesn't well. But with Walters, yeah, with Mr. Brian Walters, you know, having him in the commentary slot, it just brings in like this elegant tone and everything that we're trying to still learn from. So, you know, hopefully we'll get there. But I think that's definitely something that, you know, all of us have to develop as a skill.
Hey, Mr. Walters, can you laugh one more time for our audience to hear?
Would you all stop?
We are.
Can I commentate on cricket now? Is that okay? Can we
We're
do that?
gravitating away from commentary, and we are now a stand-up show. But I was gonna say what describes Brian as soft, sophisticated, with the enigma of the green and gold Jamaican vibe.
And there's a dot at the beginning of this.
Thank you. We can start commentating
over.
again. Appreciate
And
it.
what happened was, you can see that the required run rate is just slowly slipping away from the Gladiators. Now it's above 12 now. It started at 11, it's above 12, and it's going to keep going higher if they can't form a partnership and start getting some boundaries.
I'm gonna go back to keying and switching cameras, Brian.
Thank you. Appreciate that. The equation continues to get harder. Awaiting, by my count, the score is now 54 for 1, which means that there are 80 balls remaining, and they still need 170 runs to score. This ball is lofted well over backward square leg for 6. That will help.
Yeah,
That will
I
definitely
think,
help.
this is what they really need. Either, an over where Gaurav just gets going and, hits a couple of boundaries or sixes. That's kind of how the Gladiators can really get in the game. They really need to bring out there and show, like just what Gaurav just did. We need a couple of that, and then, get that run rate kind of back below where it's, an easy achievable target for them. So I think this is exactly what they need. They definitely need to start going off. They can't be, giving a lot of dot balls. They definitely need to be going after the ball now. They've only lost 1 wicket, so I think it's high time for them to really take the risk because, we do have to keep in mind it's 228 runs that they are chasing. So, you can't really do that without taking any risks.
Completely agree with you, Roshni. Just think about it. As of this point, they still need another 167 runs. They have 78 or 79 balls left to face. So essentially, they need to be scoring 2 runs off of every ball on average, more than 2 runs off of every ball. So every ball that does not yield 2 or above puts them further behind the equation. So there's no question that they need to start taking much more of a sense of urgency. I like what you just said, Roshni, about taking chances. This is the time to take chances. It does you no good to end up 147 all outs or 147 for 5 or 6. If you're going to challenge this total, you need to go at it from this point on with all guns blazing.
I mean, at this rate, they're currently projected to get less than 180 runs, which is where you do not want to be. You want to be getting boundaries. And they have the batting order that they can be taking risks. They lose a wicket or two, it's fine, but as long as they're getting the runs, that's their main priority right now.
Yeah,
and
as of
Roshni,
now,
I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No worries. They've only lost, as I mentioned, the 1 wicket. So this is honestly the time for these 2 batsmen to kind of go after it. If they need to take risks, that's fine. And then they definitely want to get to, even if, hopefully if they are able to, chase it down, that's great. But they want to get as close as they can to that 228 mark, So this way, depending on how it goes for them in the rest of the tournament, they still have a chance for the playoffs. So I think they need to get to that total as close as possible, and they really can't do that by just giving away dot balls or just taking 6-7 runs and over.
Give us a thumbs up.
61 for 1 unofficially. We'll get the official score here in a minute. They're looking for a quick single in the infield, not there. So 62 for 1 officially is the score. We are in the 8th over. And at this point, we have the luck or the good fortune of having several big names around. And one of those is Awezia, who had a blistering portion of an innings earlier. Roshni, you clearly, with your encyclopedic knowledge of all these players, know a little bit about Awezia. Tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, so Awezia, he's played for Pakistan. He's a Pakistani cricketer, and, at a young age, he's played for the Pakistan circuit. And, ever since he has been a part of, cricket in America, we've definitely seen some great performances, which we witnessed in this match when he scored the 66 runs. But he's an all-rounder, so he takes those wickets as well as scores those runs. So I think it's great to have Awais Khan, Awezia play in the tournament. And, yeah, especially with his experience in Pakistan. I know he's also very close to Najib Shah as well. So, being teammates when that standpoint. And just the way Awais has, been taking on these tournaments and, getting into that U.S. circuit as well, I think is incredible. Especially with, his stature he has from Pakistan. I think it's great to see him still, being able to play and especially play those blistering shots.
Well, there's no question that he was very, very impressive with the bat earlier. And if he's an all rounder, as you say, it's always good to be an all rounder because you can impact the game in so many more than one way. But if you're able to put together the performance with the bat that he did in the first innings, and then hopefully if he comes on to bowl in this next innings, restrict the batting side the way that he would be needed to, then I would think you can almost think of it already as him being in the running for Man of the Match award.
Absolutely. And, especially because he's played on that international level, he's played for PSL and obviously in that domestic circuit for Pakistan. He has so much experience that's inbuilt in him that, I know some of the players that we've seen from abroad are playing on, you know, basically a concrete wicket for the first time. So he's gotten pretty used to it. So it's great to see him play out there.
Thanks for your thoughts. And at the end of the over, it is, again, I keep qualifying my scoring by saying it's our unofficial score, I believe, is 6-8 for one. We'll confirm the official score shortly. And it is 68 for one. So we finally got one right.
I
You're
think,
saying 6-7 plus 1 is 6-8 is what you're saying.
look, if there's any team that has put on the most impressive performances today, it's definitely been the Stallions. 200 plus runs in both their innings is something to watch out for. I think these guys could easily go as the number one seed into the playoffs and make the finals the way they've been playing. But yeah, if they win this game, they've qualified for the playoffs essentially. And yeah, you need to win two to qualify for the playoffs, and they win this one, they're there. It's just seeding matters after that, first and second seed. But if there's one team to root for, it's these guys. These guys are like the Luke Skywalkers of this tournament.
And so, for those of us who know nothing about Star Trek or Star Wars or any of that, what does that mean?
Good guys. They're the good guys. Okay?
No, definitely Stallions' performance has been, amazing, outstanding for both matches. I think every single player that they have, has performed, has shown something. I think they're the one team where, in their first innings in this match, only one player, got out for, just a couple of runs, but everyone else scored more than 30 runs, in that caliber. So I think the Stallions have really, really shown, what they've brought to a side. I know that they also brought in their overseas players like a couple weekends back to just, get a feel to how to play together. And I think that's really showing as well. Because we often see, when we have these players brought in from different places, sometimes it does take a little time to gel well. I think that always happens in tournaments, especially the first game. But I think, the preparations the Stallions have, it's definitely showing up for them and showing, how it's helped them.
Completely agree with you, and it's testament to the professionalism of the side, and it's also a testament to the focus that they have, that they can get together and gel as a team as quickly as they have, and be able to put together such a clinical performance in both matches thus far in this tournament. So the bowling to continue. We'll get I believe this is a Wazir. Same bowler, okay. Bowling from the north end, and he will be coming in to bowl to, I believe, Gaurav Bajaj. Slapped over the top of backward point. There's a fielder down there in the deep. Tricky bounce, but he feels it well enough to prevent them from scoring more runs than that one single. So a good piece of fielding. Fielding ultimately becomes very important as you get through the middle innings. If you prevent those ones from going to twos and prevent those twos from going for fours, you're having as good an impact on the game as if you were one of the bowlers. And this ball is slapped straight down the ground for four, pierced the gap between long on and long off. So four more to the total. They need a whole lot of these if they're going to challenge in this game, but you certainly want to make sure that they're trying, and at this point, they have no choice but to go after it. Yeah. So 156 runs needed, actually 155 runs needed, and another check that, another 68 balls in which to get them. Slap down to
That's
square leg for a
yeah.
single. No, in fact, it goes all the way for four. Okay, so consecutive fours off the bat here of Gaurav Bajaj. And hey, they're in the game and they're fighting. And
Yeah,
that's
we
what you
can
want to see
definitely
happen.
that this is what we wanted from them. For the Gladiators, this is what they needed to do, and they're definitely going after. So, that's exactly what they need. To go after the ball. Try to get in these boundaries. Try to get take whatever risk they can, and I'm glad that they have started to do that.
Well, you called for it a few minutes ago, and I think you're getting exactly what you called for.
This is definitely a great over uh, for the Gladiators. Away Zia is proving to be a little bit on the expensive side for the Stallions, but it's still manageable. 150 from 68 is still perfectly fine for the Stallions. But I think look, there's two balls left, and if he has this momentum, then yeah, I might yeah. Look, what the Stallions need right now is to keep playing the ball into the hands of their fielders,
Mhm.
and if they can keep doing that, because they can increase the pressure, and pressure always leads to wickets.
Think you're absolutely right. The one way that you don't increase pressure is by bowling extras. And that ball fizzed down the leg side for another wide. So 148 needed from 67 balls. A really tall order, but you have no choice but to try. And this is a cheeky shot lifted elegantly over the top of that fielder, short third man. Goes all the way for four. Really, really cheeky shot. And again, these are the inventive and chancy types of efforts that you need to be undergoing if you're going to challenge such a total.
Yeah, and I think especially that's why especially in that T20 format, it's a format where you never know what happens. One over, everything could totally change. Equations can really change. So we're gonna hope these two, just keep doing what they're doing and like take those chances, take those shots, and try to get them. We know that even if the wicket does go down, they still have many batsmen to come. So I think they are on track, and they definitely need to get an over where they get a good amount of runs. I would say 18, 20 runs in an over can definitely bring them back.
Well, as of right now, they need about 13 and over. 13 and over. You have no choice. We keep saying it. You're going to have to take chances, especially
Yep.
with 9 wickets in the hutch. Let's just throw caution to the wind and see what happens. Ooh, little drifter goes past the outside edge of the bat there. And that was Gaurav Bajaj, I believe, who sort of uncertainly poked his bat at that ball. Fortunately for him, it missed the outside edge.
And I think it's also important for Stallions to know, yeah, they set a good, very high total, but they still need to look to get in those wickets, because with cricket, you never know what can happen. So I think they still need to try to get those wickets, especially with these two. These are definitely the core batsmen the Gladiators have that can, give in that explosive innings and try to get to that total. So I think the Stallions definitely do need to work on getting those wickets and not just thinking, well, we have a lot of runs, we'll just let this go through. And we've already seen them give a lot of extras, which can cost them. We've seen that, time and time again, the World Cup with India, England, New Zealand, and things like that. So it's definitely something that the Stallions also need to just remember that, they need to start getting those wickets too, because these two are starting to get set.
You're absolutely right, Roshni. So, with 63 balls remaining and 142 still needed to get, you're right. The last thing that you want to do as the bowling side is to start giving extras. And this ball is driven down to deep extra cover. It'll make it long off for a single. 3 runs scored in the over already, and 2 balls to come. target of 228, a really imposing number under most circumstances, and even made much harder by the good bowling attack that the Houston Stallions have. This ball is swept down to square leg for a single. Throw comes back in, hits up against the corner of that concrete wicket. You would not have that necessarily in an international match, but under the circumstances, given where we're playing, you expect for that to happen every once in a while.
Cameron
So,
Shake has bowled a phenomenal over so far. Only 4 from it, and that's perfectly fine. That's way better.
sure.
140 from 61. We're nearing the. This is the final ball for this half of the over, and it looks to be a double. A
Just
single.
one.
Yeah, single. Yeah, that's a great. That's a great first half of the innings if you're the Stallions, and yeah, I mean, but there is a partnership being formed, but at this rate, it won't go that far.
Well, we'll put it to you this way. In the first game this morning, the target to win the entire game was 140. So they needed 140 from 20 overs. The Houston Stallions have gotten the crick-based Gladiators to the point where they need 139, but in 10 overs. So the same amount of runs from this morning's target, but in half the number of balls to get them. So obviously, even I can do that math. They need about 13.9 runs, or let's make it 14 runs and over the rest of the way. 14 runs in one over is hard. To get 14 runs in 10 overs, 14 runs and over 10 times is extremely difficult under most circumstances. And again, if you're doing it against an attack that is as varied and as experienced as the Stallions have, you see how much of a tall order this is for the crick-based Gladiators.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The Gladiators, they can get 14 runs in 1 or 2 overs, but to carry that for the 10 overs, that's very hard to do. And
Yep.
Without Milind Kumar, I would not put it past them to be able to do that.
Okay. Final score, Roshni, in this innings. What do you think is going to be? What a horrible, horrible political answer. Oh my goodness. You need to run for mayor of Philadelphia or something with that answer.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get a straighter answer here from Moise.
Look,
Moise,
earlier on,
where do you
earlier
think
on,
the Gladiators are going to end up?
earlier on, I said that they wouldn't get past 180, and I'm gonna stick with that. They're not getting 180 at this if they're gonna keep playing like this.
194.
194.
194.
194. I'm gonna put it under 180 because the Stallions are gonna get a wicket soon.
Oh,
For
this
sure.
is 6 of the best. I love.
Yeah, well, the thing about T20 is you do know what's gonna happen, and I told this to Brian yesterday. I said I don't like T20 because you can.
You have all of the analysis. You've done the hard work. All you need to do is say a number. Give me a number. Roshni, give me a number. This is 4 more runs.
There's no harm in giving a number.
Is it going to be over or under 190?
Under, for sure. See, exactly. That's the thing with IPL. You'll be able to tell in a few overs. Whereas, like, an ODI, you'll never be able to tell. mean, there's no Andre Russell here, so oh, that was a great shot, and it goes right to a fielder.
I'll tell you what, there's no Andre Russell, but from from what I've seen, there are players. I think you're absolutely right. Here's six more. Oh no. Oh, taken in the deep.
Yeah, I
Off
said
of the bat, I thought that was going to be six, but that fielder at deep mid wicket settled under it, took it comfortably, probably from where we are. I think he was about maybe a couple of feet inside the rope. A big wicket goes down. This partnership is broken.
yeah,
And
I said there was gonna be a wicket. What did I tell you? And look, they were gonna. Speaking of the run rate, they were gonna get a 14 run over right there.
correct.
But that wicket stopped that, and yeah, props to the bowler right there.
But bear in mind, we only have another 9 overs to go, right?
Exactly.
So they could lose a wicket.
Look,
Okay.
that partnership was broken, and I don't without
Tell
Gaurav
us about Hamad Azam.
Bajaj, then I don't know. Look, it's back to being a 14 runs per over.
Never mind. So, a 14 run over. Well, from this over just now, they got 13.
Yeah.
Honestly, with the limited number of overs remaining, the number of wickets that they have lost is not as much of a factor. You still have 8 wickets to go. You can lose essentially 1 wicket and over from here and still challenge a total.
Of course,
The
they need
thing
to.
for
They
them
need to
is
start
take
hitting.
the risk, which
Yes.
we saw. He was going out there to hit a six, and I mean that's what they need to do. So if the wicket
Correct.
was lost, that's fine. Hopefully the next batsman, can just get going as well. They really can't be taking, dot balls. They really need to be get going. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough for them.
What am I
especially
going to
trying
ask you
qualify.
for?
Still 2 more overs.
And look, the Gladiators have capable batsmen all the way through, right?
Yes.
Up until like the 8th. They have Ritwik Behera at 8, and he's a capable batsman. So they have the batsmen. You're right. They need to start hitting balls. It's okay if they lose a few wickets or a wicket and over, right? They
Yes.
hit the ball,
Yes.
and that's the only way they can win.
Mhm.
And every single dot is so heavy at this point.
Yes.
Their pressure just increases tenfold every dot.
Ball stroked down to long on for a single. We will get you the name of the new batter in just a second. Current score is 103 for 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Gorge
might
Bajaj
be able
just
to
got
run 2
out.
here if they want. No, they're just jogging. So back to the
Oh,
point
Rohit
of wanting
Behera at
to.
number 4. I was saying he was going to be at number 8, but
Who is
they
this?
decided to bring him out. Ritwik Behera. He's
Ritwik
under 19
Behera,
on the
okay.
U.S. National team.
Okay.
And he's very capable. He actually lives in my neighborhood.
He actually just
Fantastic.
scored a century about 2 weeks ago in a California camp. So
Fantastic.
I know in the first innings, we didn't really see much from him. He scored around 3 runs off of 5 balls. But let's see if he can get going. We can see as a captain to this sent, under 19 player up the order.
Mhm.
So I think it's great to see what this youngster can do.
And what's interesting is they decided to bring him out at 4. He's like one of those. I think in this lineup, he's one of those Andre Russell type finishers,
Okay.
and that's what they need. They need someone to get they need someone to hit the ball. It's okay if he gets out, but they need him to bring the required run rate down, and that's why he's bought at 4. Last innings, he was bought out at number 8. So it's
Fantastic.
clear that the pressure is on for the Gladiators, and it's clear that now they've set their priorities to getting runs.
And that's the end of the over. At the end of the over, the score is 106 for 2. Prajit Modi is, I believe, if this is correct, on a 49 from 34 with 6 fours and a 6. And Ritwik Behera having just come to the crease, I believe is 1 from 2 or something along those lines. Either way, still have a really steep mountain to climb. 122 runs needed and only 48 balls in which to get them.
Yeah, and that was a great over by Cameron Shake right there. 4 runs from it, and he's been quite economical in like terms of a T20. Like 15 runs given in 18 balls is phenomenal, especially when they need such a high amount of runs. And the run rate is crept up to over 15 now, so the game is slowly like falling away from the Gladiators' hands.
That run rate, definitely, or the required run rate, that is, definitely trending in the wrong direction if you're a fan of the Gladiators. And with the fall of the last wickets, the previous over had yielded 13 runs, but to the point that you just made, the next over, they were only able to produce 4 singles. When you're producing 4 singles in an over, when you're really supposed to be getting somewhere around, oh, bowled him completely across the line, looking to play this to mid wickets. Ball full and on the stumps. His
That's
head was
out.
pointed skyward when he played that shot.
Oh wow,
Completely missed it, and his furniture is rearranged. So yet another wicket falls.
what a great bit of editing right there. I'm sure you guys just saw the umpire right there. That's awesome. And Prajit Moody gets out. He had a half century. He was good. And now Jay Desai is on. We can give a short spotlight real quick while they're changing batsmen
Thank
to
you.
another field. We have Sean
Finley.
Sean Finley, who is the MVP of the first game for the Houston Stars. He got injured in that game, but he's still putting up phenomenal numbers. Today,
So you heard us talk about Sean Finley earlier, former West Indies all-rounder from Jamaica. Anything good comes from Jamaica. You all know that. But injured himself badly in the first innings. Up until an hour ago, was lying on the ground with an ice pack on his knee. From what we can see behind us, he is on one leg and he is absolutely blasting the bowling to all parts. We'll get you specific scores here if we can sometime soon. And not really sure what the position is in this game, but 198 for 6. Oh, 98 for 6.
And Sean Finley's at 28 off of 13 balls. So we definitely saw that, the Houston Stars really missed out with his bowling because he had taken those 3 wickets in the first game that they played. So he didn't bowl, but he's going out there to bat, especially because the team really needs him. I mean, being 6 wickets down already, Sean's really putting up a tough fight with that injury to get the teams home.
yeah, they have 8 overs to get like 60 some runs. It's definitely possible with such a batsman of the experience and caliber of Sean Finley. It's definitely doable, and he has a strike rate of close to 200. Yeah, and if he keeps smashing like he's been doing, the game could go to the
Not
Houston
out.
Stars.
So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. But back on the field where we are for the match that we're actually supposed to be commentating on. 120 is the required number of runs from 45 deliveries. This ball is lofted over the infield on the offside. There's a sweeper running around from cover, comes over to his left, and returns a good throw, good enough anyway, that they restrict them to only 1 run. So 119 needed from 44 balls. And as this game drifts further and further away from the Gladiators, one might only have to start wondering which one of the commentators would have come the closest to estimating the final score. One commentator chose to not participate.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 2 overs are up. You want to give your answer now?
Oh my goodness. Please say something. Below 190.
I'm saying below 180 or
See,
even
I think
170 at this
my
point.
190 looks it looks a little bit idealistic at this point. I'm not going to change my guess because that was my original guess, but I would think, yeah.
I think
190?
I think I might go out and say below 170.
Okay.
I'm never wrong when it comes to sports. I knew the Suns were gonna win. They beat the Lakers. They beat the Nugs. They beat the Clippers. And now they're gonna go win the NBA. You know, I'm never
Wow.
wrong.
So after you finish commentating on cricket, you're going to go start commentating on basketball. Is that
Yeah.
the deal? Wow. When I grow up, I want to be just like you.
I mean, yeah. You're like not even half the man that I am.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
joking. I'm
Oh
joking.
my
I love you.
goodness.
I love you.
And Munir, may I remind you that this is a man who less than 24 hours ago said that he was not good enough to commentate. He is now owning the commentating booth.
But
That runs in the family, Brian. We just walk in and conquer.
Oh
But
my goodness.
that partnership that the Stallions, or not the Stallions, the Gladiators created has been completely reset with both of the but with both of those batsmen being dismissed after forming a partnership of around 70 runs. That definitely like increased the pressure like tenfold. They lost Milland. The partnership formed. It got broken. And now they have to start fresh. And the required run rate that they need to get is creeping above 15. And ones and twos are not going to cut it. They bought out the specialized batsmen who were supposed to come and score, but the Stallions bowlers, you have to give credit to them. They have been phenomenal. Both times, actually. They had the Houston, not the Houston.
That's got to be two now. It's just one.
But they had the other team they placed. They had them around like 140 runs, less than that. The Stallions bowlers are probably like the best we've seen all day. And their batsmen too. The Stallions, like I said, they're the best team right now, based on today. And they're definitely the team that I think is the number one contender. I've seen every game so far, and Stallions have looked the
This
best.
is going to be 6.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliantly struck. Well over the boundary. In fact, hits the practice nets on the full about 3 or 4 feet up. So, yes, they need a ton more of those types of strokes. But you're certainly not going to refuse that ball if it's right there in the slot for you to elevate that ball over the top. And that's exactly what he did.
And Jay Desai.
Short. Oh, appeal, and he's giving him.
Oh. I was just about to say something cool about Jay Desai, and then he gets bowled out, unfortunate.
That's out.
Well, this delivery, definitely shorter, but flatter and quicker, and pushed through a lot more forcefully by the spinner. Caught J.D. Sai on the crease, and the umpire thought about it for a split second and eventually had no hesitation in raising that dreaded index finger. So another wicket goes down. The score is now 120 for 4. And I would think that this calls for the captain, Sidesh Patare, to come in. We have a worm. Boy, the technology that we have here. So if you look at the worm,
This is awesome.
yes, we bow to you in your presence, sir. The brilliant effort here being put together by Munir Majid, where we actually can see what the worm looks like. And obviously, if you're looking at the worm, it appears that the shorter worm really is going away from the longer worm and in the wrong direction. You don't want to see that worm trending in that direction. And so the game is getting more and more difficult for the Gladiators. And, of course, they've just lost another wicket. So we need the captain at this point to come in and play the type of innings that will at least keep his team competitive. But I think It's going to be very difficult at this point to talk about the Gladiators actually winning the game. Again, unless they start accepting gifts from the Stallions. And here's another wide ball to start with. Ball cut to backward point. That's going to be the end of the over. Successful over, 9 runs from it according to my numbers. So the score 121 for 4. Another 107 runs needed from 35 balls. Pretty tall order here. 15 runs or so and over. 107 from 36 balls. Did I say 35? I meant 36. My apologies. The batters are Sidesh Pathare and Ritwik Bera.
So, Moise, we know you're 16 years old and you're doing your schooling from Maryland. Tell us about Ritwik. I understand he's been your classmate and lives in your neighborhood.
Yeah, I went to middle school with him, but he was playing international tournaments since like 6th grade. So definitely props to him. He has a lot of experience and he's been playing cricket from a very young age. He's a nice guy. He's kind of shy, but we love him and I do support him. I'm supposed to be unbiased, but I can't help but not support someone who I've known for a few years. But yeah.
We'll allow it. Ball is stroked down the ground, long off coming around and retrieving, and keeps them to 1 run. So singles, unfortunately, are not going to be good enough at this stage. We said it earlier, you certainly would have wanted to accelerate several overs ago. And at this point, the mission may be less about trying to win the game and more about trying to make the score look respectable. Oh, looks to run it down to third man. Did not get it as fine as he wanted to and ended up just baseball style bunting the ball down the first base line, and they run through for a quick single. So 3 balls, 3 quick singles, and the required run rate rockets upward.
Sadesh Bryan is a veteran of the Houston Premier League. He's played several editions of it. And being the captain, I think he knows the importance of the overall net run rate. And they're 100 runs behind right now.
I was about to ask you about that. At what point does net run rate figure into the equation? So maybe the objective at this point is just to bat the remaining overs to not be hurt very much on that net run rate calculation.
I mean, I think where the teams first separated were the power play overs were quite similar for both teams, but I think the middle overs where partnerships are crucial. That's what separated the Stallions and the Gladiators. The Gladiators got their partnerships shattered a few times, but the Stallions were able to maintain those all the way until the very end, and that's what led them to get such a high score. Like we said, the Stallions are definitely a team with a lot of good teamwork and coordination. You won't ever see a Stallions player get run out. Why? Because they're so coordinated. You know, their international players have been here for a few weeks now, gotten to know the team. And look, cricket is a team sport. And cricket is a team sport. And teamwork wins games. Like, the individual caliber that these players have won't really matter against like a full, proper, well-oiled team. No matter how good the Gladiators' batting lineup is or how good they are individually, they won't be able to compare to a Stallions team with a whole lot of teamwork.
Good observations, Moise. 125 for 4 is the score. Another 103 runs needed from 30 balls. Captain Suresh Patare is at the non-striker's end. The striker is Ritwik Bera. And the bowler is driven over the top of extra cover. That's going to run away for 4, I think. Yep, get in the gap, and that's 4 runs. The bowler is Ali Hussein. Ali Hussein, who's conceded a boundary off of the first ball of his over, the 17th or the 16th of the innings. He'll not be very happy with that. Any seam bowler who is driven will, I think, tend to pull the length back on the next ball. And if you have any amount of pace, you pull the length way back and have a lot more venom in that ball. But I think he'll not want to be driven again over extra cover the way he just was. Oh, this ball is driven right back at Ali Hussein, flashing his hand a little bit. I think that might have hurt him. Don't know that it was a return catch. It might have been a bump ball, but either way, he didn't field it cleanly, and the batsman run through for a single.
In the meantime, Brian, I'm going the third course of my lunch. Beautiful, sumptuous lunch boxes served by Pablos Restaurant and Club, sandwiches and chicken rolls, which we've enjoyed thoroughly on this hot day.
I thoroughly enjoyed the chicken rolls, and I ate them a couple of hours earlier. Of course, I'm a growing boy, so I'm almost starting to get hungry again. So that might need to be addressed at some point. 130 for 4, 98 runs needed. The target is now under 100, but unfortunately, only 28 runs or 28 balls remaining in which to get them. Oh, this ball is struck sweetly. Oh, what a beautiful strike over the top of extra cover. 6 more. Such an elegant shot. It really is a difficult shot to play over the top of extra cover. That's about the 3rd time today we've seen one of those shots disappear over the top of extra cover, and it really is a difficult shot to play. Anyone in cricket can slog a ball over mid-wicket or square leg for 6, but it takes a special batsman to go inside out over extra cover like that. Really excellent shot to see. Oh, tries to repeat the dosage and misses it, but will still get a single. No, they come back for 2. 2 runs down to long on.
And over at the other field, Sean Finley is still smashing. Phenomenal from him, despite being injured.
I think it just
And
got
he
out.
just got out. God damn it. Commentator's curse, man.
Boys, you're gonna get timeout for that.
I'm pretty sure the uncle is not going to be happy with what we just heard over the air. I think tomorrow's commentary session will begin with you doing 15 push-ups on the spot.
Look, the run rate is above
Oh.
15 now. It's probably like creeping towards 17 now, if I'm correct. That's not where you want to be as a team, and I think at this point, yeah, they can't even get it to 170 at this rate because the Stallions bowlers are just so good at what they do. But I think what the Gladiators are looking, so like tomorrow, they're wanting to start fresh, forget about this performance, and try making the playoffs.
Leg buys.
Absolutely love it. The graphics, the effort, the talent, so much production has gone into
Absolutely.
this edition of the Pablo Houston Premier League 2021. It is truly a brilliant thing to witness. So
And look-
142 for score for 4 is the score. 86 runs needed and 14 or 4 overs in which to get them.
And look, even in games like these, winning teams still have lessons to heed,
Ooh.
right? So Stallions bowlers should probably look into not giving any extras because look, if this were the finals, this would not be something you want to do. Give up free runs because in something as high stakes as the finals with a lot of money and like a lot of like bragging rights on the line, you don't want to be able to give away free runs, especially to your opposition team. And then the Gladiators, wow.
Oh, look at this shot. Oh, it's not going to go. Oh, it did go all the way.
A good effort made by the fielder out there, but it was just above him.
I tell you what, he was in probably 3 or 4 feet from the boundary. Had he been back on the boundary,
6 runs.
that extra 2 or 3 feet, along with a well-timed leap, it would be interesting to see how close he would have come to catching that ball had he been stationed back on the boundary. But either way, 6 more runs, and by my count, the score is not. Yep, 149 for 4.
I mean, this partnership has gone into 30 runs. It could go somewhere. And yeah, 79 from 22. It's not doable, but this is definitely like a duo that you can look out in the future.
Ball helped
Gets
over the
past
top
two
of
fielders for four.
short fine
For
leg.
four, yeah, for four.
Good.
Nice.
No, it did not go all the way for 4. Good piece of fielding down there by the fielder running around from deep backward square, and he restricts them to 2 runs. Moral victory there. 2 runs.
For 3.
Oh, they did run for 3. Okay, check that. Okay, good running in the end. So 3 more runs to the total. The score now 152. And of course, the only bit of drama remaining in this game is seeing, Moise, which one of us comes closer in our guess.
I was saying below 180. So, and then you said 194. I think I'm closer for sure. Yeah, 194 was a bit bold.
And of course, one of us chose to abstain until the very end
Mm.
when she could see which way the wind was blowing, which took absolutely no guts whatsoever.
Yeah, we need risk takers in the commentating booth.
Full toss, driven back down the ground. They get 1. Do they want to push for 2? No, they don't. Captain Sudesh holds his hand up and says, nope, we can settle for that 1.
The sun is out and it's baking everyone on
154
the field
for 4.
and us in the commentary booth. 74, and there's only 3 overs remaining.
Short ball powered away over square leg. It's going to go. There's a man down there. Thought that was going to go for 4. But backward square runs around to his left, retrieves it, and keeps the damage to 1 run.
Yeah,
So
good.
that, I believe, is the end of the over. At the end of the over, the score 155 for 4.
Yeah, good batting from Ritwik Behera. He's definitely someone to look out for in the for the rest of the tournament. Yeah, 25 required run rate. I don't think I don't know this sport that well, but let me ask Mr. Walters: is a 25 run rate doable?
Anything is doable. Anything under 36 is doable.
Anything under 36 is doable.
You can hit a 4 off of every ball for the rest of this match, and the Gladiators would win the match. Is it likely? Probably not.
Probably not.
Can they make it interesting? Is there a 16 or 17 or 18 run over among the 3 remaining? Potentially. But the way that they have approached the last several overs, I think Munir pointed it out earlier, and Sudesh, who is a very intelligent captain and who plays to the situation, knows that net run rate is going to be a consideration at some point. And if that ever becomes an issue, he wants to make sure that he doesn't have his team be hurt by a poor net run rate number because they got bowled out cheaply or bowled out before the end of the innings. So my prediction, and I think this has less to do with the target that I had set and more to do with Sudesh playing for that net run rate approach, is that they will probably go at the rate of probably 6 and over from here on out. I don't think that they'll be trying to chase down this total at all.
captain of the Gladiators, putting up a good run rate of 170. See, these Gladiators players are quite capable. It's just that something didn't go right for them in this match, and that's something they're looking forward to fix and play on tomorrow, starting fresh.
Yeah, they've certainly taken their foot off of the gas, you could tell. It almost feels like a test match at this point where they're just simply tapping the ball and casually running ones and twos. And as I say that, this ball is lofted towards deep wide mid wicket, or really straightish mid wicket. Call it cow corner, if you will. Fielder runs across and prevent or keeps them to 2 runs, or did they run 2 or 1?
And Brian, the point we were discussing earlier, I'll come back to it after this ball.
Ooh. Thick on the edge, goes down to fine leg. Najaf Shah gives chase, but they run through for 2 runs.
Yeah, he almost got Shaikh with that. He was starting to navigate towards the cover boundary and had to take a detour to find leg. But the point I was making, Brian, is almost in every season of the HPL, we have seen the final couple of playoff spots come down to net run rate.
Interesting.
A tournament that really is just 5 fixtures over 2.5 days.
Oh, look at this. Najaf Shah. Oh, he drops it. A pretty simple catch in the end. Ran back. Looked like he had it covered. He's a very tall man, and he made the distance that he needed to, but just could not close his hands around that ball. So officially goes as a drop catch. They run through for 1 run.
Yeah,
and yes, keep going.
We've seen the kind of drama and tantrums HPL throws every year, and we've learned how points table works following this tournament, where we've had teams who have believed that the other team, if they lose, we're going to proceed, and they did lose, but they found out that since they had lost the earlier games by such a big margin, they didn't lose the last one by such a big margin, and their net run rate actually improved, and they were the ones who went through even after losing games. So it's been some very interesting scenarios.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Najaf lets one through, and they come back for, in fact, just a single there. So Siddesh has been there, done that. He knows all these permutations, and I think he's discussing that with this young batsman in the middle, that we have to make sure we bat all the overs, and we are the guys who are better off batting these overs instead of the bowlers who are up to come next. So I think with 2 overs to go, if they can push this somehow towards 185-ish, get 20 runs there, I mean, obviously it's still a big loss, but eventually in the whole calculation of the points table, they may come back and say those were the 20 runs which really benefited us.
Yep. Great observation, and sometimes it's easy to forget about the different calculations that take place behind the scenes, behind just the overall result of the match. This ball is smashed, and that's going to go for 6. Couple of bounces, and it lands up against the fence for the dog park. 6 more runs, so 169 the
6
total.
runs.
With 11 more balls remaining in this innings. Again, we're not going to threaten 228, but to your point, Munir, if you can get a little bit closer, 20, 18 maybe, 16, then you certainly put yourself in a better position when we start talking about, if it ever comes down to it, the net run rate calculations later in the tournament. Driven straight down the ground, and long off comes around and picks up. Single conceded. Score now 170 for 4.
And Brian, as we are about to wrap up the first day of Houston Premier League 2021, probably 10 minutes away from the end of it. And this one's skied in the air.
Not much distance. Not much distance.
Long off comes underneath
Great catch.
and just settles under it. easy catch. Sidhesh, I think,
Mhm.
who had a lot of impetus to him, and we've been. In fact, it's Ritvik. It's Ritvik.
Okay.
Moise knows his buddies well. So yeah, Brian, as we are wrapping up the first day of play, what's been your overall thought of the proceedings? Which teams have looked good? Which players have impressed you overall? And what we can expect from tomorrow now?
That's out.
Well, I think we can start with the game that we're looking at right now. The Stallions looked very dominant. Um, they have a good bowling attack. Never mind the fact that they have bowled way more extras in this innings than you would
That's
expect them
out.
to. They still, I think, have enough variety in their bowling attack to restrict most teams to a total below what they would prefer to score. And then batting, they appear to have a really truly strong batting lineup. Now, does that mean that they're automatically the favorites? I don't know that that's the case because we haven't seen all the teams yet. And in addition, when we saw Sean Finley and his guys this morning, they looked pretty dominant also. But I think my gut tells me that if everyone on the Stallions plays to their potential, they would be one of the teams that are in the finals.
And obviously, Knight Riders has been a powerhouse of the HPL,
Sure.
and they're playing on the East Field against
Great ball.
Yorker, and well stopped by the bowler as well.
Mhm.
They're playing on the East Field against the Hurricanes, the Houston Cricket League Hurricanes,
Mhm.
and it's really pleasing to see someone like Laksh Parekh, who is an under 19 player from Houston, come
Mhm.
into the side and bowl a spell of 4 overs for 18 runs and 3 wickets. And so I think a
Free hit.
free hit has been signaled.
Mhm. Yep. Right back to the bowler.
Right back to the
Yeah,
bowler, a dot
Sure.
ball
the
again.
Stallions have given out way too many of these free hits. It's not some that's something they should probably work on. Not giving those out like the wides and the extras. There's just been too many than you can manage. But Stallions have been quite dominant today, and they put on great shows both games. And that's looks like it's caught.
Oh,
Nice.
what a catch. What a brilliant catch. Excellent catch taken in the deep.
That's
Judged
out.
it well. Knew exactly where he was in relation to the boundary and took that catch probably chest height at the same time, controlling his body so that he did not step over the rope. That's a really, really brilliant catch.
And
So,
Houston knows the bucket hands of Faraz Sheikh very well. Settles under that high ball and takes it beautifully. Pretty impressive, in fact. Faraz is one of the loyal Stallion players who's been with them for quite some time and continues to show up for them for the Houston Premier League. Uh, a wonderful leg spinner and a good middle order batsman. So he's a total package when it comes to T20 cricket. And Stallions, I think, are carrying so much momentum going into the second day. It's almost, I think, just if we wrap up the proceedings from the first day, it's looking like who is the team that can challenge these guys? Who's gonna probably stop this juggernaut the Stallions have built on the first day?
so we have the final five balls of the day's play. As a dot ball is a result of the first delivery of the 20th over. 173 for six is the score. Officially 55 runs needed. Obviously, without any extras, they're not going to get anywhere near that. And those first two deliveries of two dot balls, in fact, I was incorrect just now. One is 56 runs needed.
And Brian, Moise, Roshni, as the first day comes to a wrap, I'm almost getting goosebumps and jitters from the thought of wrapping up this entire setup we've got, tearing down and doing this backup again tomorrow. It's been quite a testing day. The weather has been, since it's been raining leading into the HPL, it's been super humid.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very hot. and we've all been sweating, and just it's been quite challenging on the players also. But
Mhm.
we have to appreciate the effort they've put in on this first day.
No question. And I think you're being a little bit modest, Munir. All of this happens very much because of you and all your efforts. So many different moving parts, all the technology, all of the organization, all of the direction being provided. All of this is due to you and your efforts. So, under those circumstances, one day down, three more to go. And I think this happens only because of you. So, kudos to you.
Yeah, and that's 4 dot balls in a row this over. Hopefully my prediction.
It's five now.
Yeah, 5 in a row. It could go for a maiden. That'd be a really good way to close out this game. And it looks like my prediction was correct. Less than 180. You heard it here, folks. Less than 180.
Well, we didn't factor in the net run rate calculations we talked about earlier. So, it's a Pyrrhic victory for you.
And Brian, coming up to that wonderful gratitude from you, I'll use reference from. Oh, it's coming straight
that's a
down
wicket.
towards us.
No.
Please protect my cameras. There you go. Good job.
Yeah, I mean,
Appreciate these fielders. So
And
Brian,
that game
coming
is
back to
over.
coming back to that subject, I'll use reference from Siddhesh's world that I can mix up the batter, but the frosting and the cherries on top, which you guys bring, we really are appreciative for that. You all make the stick, and that goes for Moise, that goes for you, Brian, that goes for Roshni, that goes for Shahik, Satish, who came out and helped with the setup. A lot of folks from UMMC who came out and did the tent setup. There's so many volunteers behind the scenes who come and do little bits and pieces here and there, and it's just impossible to spin up this thing and also be able to move it at the very last moment from setup like Prairie View. Because of the rain, we didn't feel comfortable using the turf wickets and the quality, the standards they maintain. It was a huge risk going on with this kind of a forecast on
Yep.
turf wickets. So just being able to move everything on such a short notice and being able to execute things, although with some hiccups, which always is part and parcel of the game. But
Sure.
I think we've had a pretty good first day.
Overall, I think we absolutely had a great first day. We also have to acknowledge the excellence of the umpires. There, in each one of these games that are going on, there are three teams competing on the field. Each of the players have a team that they're competing against each other, but the third team is the umpires, and those umpires have to make sure that the game is being managed effectively, that the game proceeds along the path that it needs to be, and most importantly, that the spirit of cricket is upheld. And I think the best thing that we can say about the umpires is that the game is moving along so smoothly that sometimes you don't even notice that they're there. That's a testament to how well they manage the game, a testament to the extent to which they have control over the game. And I think I've seen a lot of cricket throughout this country. I would put the umpires in the Houston area right up there at the top with anybody else in the country.
yeah, and
Yes, completely. Well, on that note, I think this would be a good time to
wrap up the
Roshni,
stream.
any final thoughts? Any wild predictions that you want to make for the rest of the tournament or anything else you want to say?
I don't want to make too many wild predictions, but I do think, that we are seeing an incredible side from the Stallions. I think they've really lived up to all the hype that they put in, and I'm glad that they did. I think I've already mentioned to the captain, when I spoke to him already previously before coming into Houston, that, I am definitely impressed by, them, one, giving that talk and really showing it on the field. So I think both games, incredible performances from everyone, that they have in their team. I think that's important. Everyone knows what their role is. And I think they're playing beautifully and they're doing exactly what their role is. Coming out there, they know what to do. And I think that's, that really helps with the team. So I'm excited to see that. I think with the other tournaments, we definitely saw some close games. So I think, for the other teams, it's definitely going to be some competition. I think a lot of teams now are at that one win, one loss stage. So it's definitely going to be really good.
So, continue your thoughts. You were talking about the excellence of the captain of, I think it was the Stallions, and how the team itself played. What are your thoughts about how well they're going to do with regard to the rest of the tournament?
I think, yeah, for the rest of the tournament, I think they are now the players to watch out for the other teams. Having won 2 matches now for them, so that's already giving them, a good space compared to other teams. We had the Power Stars lose a match and then go into win a match. Same with Houston Stars. We saw them win, an incredible match and then go into lose a match. And we still have a game that's going on. So I think for the other matches, that just shows for the other teams there's competition is still in. There's no one still out. Obviously, it's only the first day, but the Stallions definitely have that upper hand. Having the 2 wins today, they have that room to even rest some of the players because playing these back-to-back games is definitely gonna be hard. But I do want to ask now. Moise is here, so we've seen Moise, do his. I think the first time, have a commentary gig. He's loving it out here, especially that technology gig. So, it's been a great addition. I think it's amazing to see a youngster. When you talk about, your friend Rithwik playing out in cricket, well, you're doing no less. I think when cricketers are playing, you need people like us to, be talking about them and promoting them. So, how's your day been today?
It's like a mixed bag, Like the morning we couldn't get the stream to work, and we were commentating on speakers. So like the only people who could hear us were the players, and but we finally got the stream on, and this is awesome. I mean, ever since the stream came back on, it's been good, Like I'm glad we're doing this for the people. You guys at home can enjoy this. And
Moise is loving it. That's all I'll say. He's loving holding the mic. He's just loving
I'm
everything
loving
about
it,
it.
Morris is playing himself in. Well, he's already played himself in, and he's now going for his shots. One question for you, Moises. Who are you looking forward to seeing perform the rest of the tournament? Either a specific player or a group of players?
Well, I already said this. I'm definitely looking out for the Stallions, but I also want to see the Night Riders. They have a really good lineup. And I think my favorite player is probably Shayan.
Okay.
I met him at the photo shoot a few nights back. He seemed like a really nice guy, down to earth. Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for him and the Night Riders as well.
Ryan Jahangir is a really good guy. He's obviously played a very high level of cricket. Those of you who follow the CPL in the West Indies will know that he's represented the Barbados Tridents for a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who I am looking forward to seeing. Not necessarily a specific player, but a group of players. The young players in each team.
Yes.
It was only a couple of seasons ago that
Your microphone's off.
Can you hear me now? It was only a couple of seasons ago that Safiullah, forget his last name. His last name escapes me just now, but he was one of the younger players in the team, one of the U17s. He's now the opening bowler for the side. And so similarly, you have young players like Aryan Satish, who we met last night at the banquet, as well as his older brother Shreyan Satish. Those are kids who have come up through the Houston youth cricket system, have progressed to the point where they are aligned to a franchise. And yes, maybe you don't want to throw them in at the deep end facing Najaf Shah just yet, but the fact that they are in the team, they're gelling with their teammates, they're sort of learning the professional game, and more than anything else, they're putting themselves in the position to understand what professional cricket is like. That is the best thing that I've seen, and the thing that I'm most looking forward to is seeing how the development of these young players takes shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's what the Houston Premier League is really all about. One, giving that chance to youngsters, and as I mentioned, one, putting all the teams at an equal playing field. You don't get that in many tournaments, right? Having the 4 overseas player, having an under 19 player. In that momentum, I think it's definitely really good. We saw here Rithwik Behera as an under 19 player, go off some really, really, so far some of the best bowling that we've seen that the Stallions have, and Rithwik kind of, building a decent innings for the team. Obviously for the Gladiators, chasing that total was very difficult, but I think, Rithwik had a good knock in himself, especially playing against, the bowling lineup the Stallions had.
Completely.
Yeah. It's quite impressive to see these like young people go against like seasoned bowlers and batsmen, and it's quite inspirational too. Like if there's any young people watching at home, you can see these guys and be like, that could be me one day.
So I'm going to interrupt our conversation. To if those of you who were paying attention and watching the banquet last night heard us give an award to a young man who was not in attendance, Mr. Herman Geddes. And you all heard what I said about Mr. Geddes last night. But I'm going to now repeat it with him in attendance. None of this happens without the efforts of this man right here. And if you go back a couple of years and there's a tournament coming up, if you show up at this field at 6 o'clock in the morning, you'll see this man on his tractor mowing all of these grounds, the meticulous nature of his work, the effort that he's put in. He does such a good job on the ground that you forget that he was once a dashing opening batsman and a wicket keeper who kept up to the stumps to the Pacers. So, Herman, we said all of this last night, but I wanted to say it again with you actually here to hear it. So, Herman, if you wanted to say a couple of words, we'd love to hear it.
I just love the game of cricket, and where it is, I'd love to go, but I can't because of work. But I just love the game of cricket. I've grown to love it, to be honest with you. I wish I could play still. I'm too old for it now. I'm watching the youngsters. I'm just watching the youngsters now and enjoy myself.
Well, Herman, it is a pleasure to have you here. I know you weren't expecting to come on camera, but we definitely had to have you here. Well, sometimes publicity is necessary. And so, as we sign off for today, I want to thank you, Herman, for everything that you've done. Thank you. Look, we have the youngsters. Talk about youngsters. We have a 16-year-old youngster and like a 17-year-old youngster here. And this is the commentary team, and this is the team that will be with us for the rest of the tournament. So, thank you all very much, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone.
Stream starts at 9:30 a.m. So tune in. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
So with me, I have someone, who really doesn't need an introduction. I think especially HPL, been wicket takers. And I want to first congratulate you, especially winning that game against the Houston Stars and taking those 3 wickets. So how did it feel? I know you guys came in, with that losing momentum, but I think bringing it back, especially against the Houston Stars, all credits to the team.
First of all, thank you for having me. Cricket is all about events. Every over is an event, and we got a breakthrough. We won the power play. Then Sean Finley played a really good innings and kind of pulled the game back for them. But coming down to the back end, we took our catches, we created catches, chances and stuff like that, and we were able to finish off the game in a very professional manner. Getting 3 wickets, it was a nice feeling. I'm no stranger to getting wickets here in the HPL. This is one of my favorite tournaments in the USA. So it was all about delivering for the team in the crunch time. And that was what was most fulfilling and satisfying for me as a player.
Now, for someone like you, who plays in so many tournaments and now mentioning, HPL being one of the favorites, tell us a little bit about why you want to make time for HPL, especially when we look at July 4th, so many tournaments happening in US and obviously choosing HPL over them.
So I don't know if time would permit, but just give me a few minutes. In 2015, I think it was, um, I was finishing off my studies and stuff like that, and I hadn't played cricket for like 2 3 years competitively, and Kuldeep Patel and Tanvir Ahmed, they rang me up and asked me if I want to come and play in a tournament. Funny enough, the tournament was the HPL. HPL has been a tournament which pretty much pulled me back out of retirement, if you want to say, albeit it was for my studies and stuff like that. But it was the tournament that I came and I did well, and I was like, hey, I could still cut it at this level. So I always have a special place in my heart for Houston and HPL. You know, big up to Tanvir Ahmed for what he's been doing here in Houston, making Houston the center of cricket, in pretty much the hub in the United States. And also for Munir Boy, he always reaches out to me and always wants me to be a part, even if it's not for my franchise, which I'm a part of. He always asks me to get quality players because it's all about marketing the tournament. And I'm very thankful for that opportunity. So I always come here and try to give my best.
I am so glad that, HPL brought you back to cricket, because you've been playing in so many tournaments and we've been seeing great performances, and it's great to have you back in the circuit. I think, especially for USA cricket and all these youngsters, it's great to have them play with you and, learn from you as well. So we also had the captain, Prashant Manne, who's a happy captain. Thank you, Naveen. So I know, going in with a loss and then defeating Houston Stars. We had the Power Stars versus the Houston Stars. So how are you feeling as a happy captain?
I'm really, really happy. The boys needed it. They needed a boost after the first loss. So what does a smart team do? They work on those mistakes. So that's what exactly we did. We changed up the batting order, we changed up the bowling order, fielding positions and everything. So first game is again something like the outside players all gelling well. So that didn't work for us. But second game they all came back together.
Now, between the games, did you have any player changes, or was it just understanding the players' roles and just changing that up a bit?
We had a couple of changes, but it's not big changes. It was more of the lower end batsmen or part-time bowlers.
Yeah, and obviously, ending today with that win, I think it's a good momentum into tomorrow. So what are you looking at for tomorrow, especially with the team? You know that today, a great combination. You guys really put over the edge for Houston Stars, got those wickets that, saw that performed for Houston Stars in the first match that they won, getting them out pretty early.
Again, the plan's going to be the same for all throughout the tournament. We have a good bowling unit, a batting unit, fielding unit. Fielding sessions, they were a little different, but that didn't work in the first game, like I said. So we're going to do the same thing throughout the tournament.
Well, I wish you all the best for your matches tomorrow. Thank you.